Okay. So I'm getting to this point. Still pretty uncertain. I've had some more thoughts about all the kind of weird ways I could manipulate this logic, but I'm just not going to even try just now until I figure out if I'm anywhere near being right. Now, but I have also learned that I haven't even been using monkey to the fullest of its capacities because it already has round ceiling and floor, and I've been doing this faffing. This version, when the target for monkey is Android, you can actually see what it's doing, which is the same as what I'm doing. Here, it's when it's not Android, it uses this internal. I guess it's a C function. But anyway, that was a strange thing to find out. And also, ceiling and floor are there. I think that a version of the Blitz research languages that I used at one point just didn't include these. Often, floor, ceiling, and round or int were included with the languages. I think one version didn't. I got out the habit of using it and never bothered to look again. And it was silly of me because they're right there. But I think that for the time being I will persevere with what I'm doing, not least because it may be that I have to move to C soon anyway. So kind of having what I'm doing a bit explicit in my own code is probably okay. Don't know. Anyway, here I am. And I'm just still so full of doubt about this. And I think that one thought I did have is that I'm going to relieve myself of some of the sort of headache of this logic, and I'm going to define another global. I have also thought about how I'm going to divide up the recursor, which I called something like, I don't know, a response class the other day, just because I talk rubbish. Divide up the recursor class. I've already divided two parts of it out, the gradient editor and the worktop. And I will divide out the two rendering types into subclasses, just so that I'm not left with this stream of nonsense, which doesn't need to be like that. I can divide it into the GUI and into the sort of the things that are related to the worktop and the things that are related to the rendering, which is all this stupid stuff, including these idiotic things. Right now, what I need is a draw flag. Boom. Equals false for what it's worth. And in here, I need to set draw flag to false. And from here on, I need to think about whether or not the line is being drawn. Here, yeah, the whole thing is on screen. So I'm definitely drawing the line. Now, in here, the minute I decide the line is vertical and overlaps with the screen, I know that the draw flag is true. I think. I'm saying these things, I'm asserting them as if they're completely true, but actually I'm just trying to state to myself what I think is, yeah, the case, right? Anyway, same here. If it's horizontal, then, and if it's horizontal and I've already decided it overlaps with the screen, then it's definitely being drawn. I'm setting up the start and end positions of it. And probably I should actually, because even at this point I don't know for sure, with at least one end off the screen. Both ends can be off the screen, and both ends can be off the screen, and it can still not be drawn. But at each of these stages I'm deciding that the line, the segment does intersect with one side of the screen. And therefore, is something is going to be drawn. Very soon I'm getting a new mouse. This is maybe overkill, and actually I could just get to the end of this and say if num I is greater than 0. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. I've got a better way of tracking it here. By the time I'm at this stage, I'm counting the intersections. There's either 1 or 2, and it's represented by the value 2 or 4 in num I. So I go la-di-da-di-da, la-di-da. And that would allow me to put these two together, I think. So this case is where I'm saying I've found one intersection. The last point must be on screen. If... yeah, is that really what I'm saying? Yes, it is. And in there is where I'm going to be setting yeah, draw flag to be true. And I need to find out where the end of these tests I'm doing is. I know it definitely ain't here. This would be, obviously, I don't need to say this, easier to read using functions. So what's my first test? Because I actually look like I've got all the indenting right here. This is the first test. And it ends there. Here, I'm saying if draw flag equals true, draw the bloomin' thing. After the first rect check. I don't know if that'll ever make any sense to me again. So if the number of intersections is greater than 0, okay, yeah, and I'm going to say well, in here I could say draw flag equals true, because by that point I know it. There is an intersection. Maybe I've found 2, that's fine, in which case and it should be less than 4 now. I have to take care about that because num I isn't counting the intersections. That should be alright, yeah. Yeah, this state, it could be that I found 1 intersection or I've found 2. If I found 2, I don't need to do this bit because I've already set OLS X, OLS Y, and the start and end coordinates. So, again, I'm saying all this as if it's definitely true, but that's not the way it is. Okay, so here I'm saying the end of the segment is on the screen. So basically I want to set... what do I want to set? I want to set the... is it really this simple? OL. It's like I know what this number is. It should be 2, but that is the x position of the end position, the x value of the end position, which is Cx in this case. OL num I plus 1. So this should be 3, which is, say, the y value of the end position, which is that. The start of this segment is... what? I've just written that wrong, I think. In fact, turns out I wrote that right for some reason. Okay, no. I did write it right, and I wrote this right. I corrected myself incorrectly before I remember doing it, because this is a different situation. This is where the end of the segment is off the screen, and the start of the segment is on take care. This is not true. No, yes. No, hang on. Oh, God, I'm so sorry for myself when I watch this back. Because this is not right. No. If I've got to this point, because I've done all these checks to check against left, right, top and bottom, if I've got to this point and there are no intersections, then I know that the draw flag will remain false, and that if it's not the case that the end of the segment is on the screen, it has to be the case that the start of the segment is on the screen. Am I insane when I say that? I don't think I am. I really doubt my capacity to think things through logically very frequently. Here's the alternative. Where I don't perform the second check. If the end of this seg is off the screen, the start must be on. That's good self-confidence. And this, oops, that bit is needed. This bit might not be needed. Although I won't do it in that order. I can delete stuff and move faster than I am doing, but my editor is quite slow because my computer is quite slow and I'm doing all the video. I'll do it in this order, just so that I've got a vague notion that, yeah, there's this kind of thing to think about, and there's this way, which is must be on. Where I just say OL num I equals px, and OL num I plus 1 equals py. Now, this does not solve one of my problems. First off, am I really right about this? Is it that simple? By the time I know there's more than 0, I am definitely drawing something because there's been an intersection at the side of the screen. If the number is less than 4, then it means I've only found one intersection, which means that either the beginning or end of the line terminate, one of the ends of the line is on the screen. Because num I basically here is going to be equaling 2, it having been advanced one time by one of these circumstances. Advanced one time by 2 by one of these circumstances. That could be such rubbish. Then, I should in theory now have OL start x, OL end x, OL. How would I do it in that order? Start y, OL end x, OL end y, all set. What I don't have is information about whether or not I should draw the first or last pixel in the line. I could say there's a default position. I'm going to use my keyboard. That there's a default position which would be adhered to in this case, which is when the entire line's on screen, I want to draw. I could do it either way. Yeah, no, I want to draw the first pixel and miss the last pixel. So if the entire shape was enclosed in the screen, I'd start from the first line, drawing the first pixel, miss the last pixel of that line, knowing that the next line would obey the same rule, and draw its first pixel to occupy the space where the last pixel of the previous line would have been, and miss its last pixel. And then, but let's say that from that point the line jumps off screen, then it wants to draw its last pixel, because that last pixel will be adjacent to the edge of the screen. If I do these sums right, then if I miss the last pixel, there'll be a gap of pixels along the edge of the output image, I should say, not the screen really. So yeah, that's a situation where I want to draw the last pixel. Then, if the line crosses the screen from that point, I want to draw the first and last pixel. If the line starts off the screen and enters the screen, I want to draw the first and not the last pixel. Okay, I think I'm just gonna spell this out. Some flags. There's going to be quite a lot of things associated with this. Ultimately, I would like to make this into a separate process, but that's for another day. First pixel bool equals true. I'll just set these up as I would have them in default circumstances. Last pixel bool equals false. And here I want to reset those values as well. First pixel equals false. Do I want to do it that way? No, I'll set it up. I actually think what I'll do is I'll just make them all. It's just to try and make it, force me to make it just contradict myself. To force me to make it explicit here. In here, first pixel equals true and last pixel equals false. In here, the line is vertical. Now here's another problem. Okay. Well, is it? Either way, I want to draw the first pixel, because either the line is coming off the screen onto the screen, in which case the first pixel will be adjacent to the edge of the screen and I want to draw it, or so always the first pixel. So here, and then my instinct is to place it here. First pixel equals true. If it's on the screen, then I draw that first pixel, because I have to infer that the previous line stopped on screen, that I coded this correctly such that when a line stops on screen, that last pixel is not drawn. Okay. Bearing in mind that this, let's just say, I'm looking at the rule here, which is basically that if it's at an edge, or it's py, I think is what the rule is. Because in this case, it's if the bottom of the line is off screen, then that's the case, and I do draw the last pixel, because what I'm saying there is the line finishes at the edge of the screen, So the last pixel is true. Otherwise, the line finishes... Aha. I see a problem. I do see a problem here. Ah, man, that's wrong logic. Just because the top is less than 0 doesn't mean it's actually that this equals the top. Oh, I gotta watch myself. So that's not that thing I was saying about 0 and py and first pixel. That's not true. This equals the bottom. But now I have to take care, because I don't know whether or not the bottom, I don't necessarily, well, I can figure it out. But the bottom might be the end of the line, or it might be the beginning of the line. And if it's the beginning of the line, then I want to draw that pixel. Oh. This is a little bit of a problem. What's a better logic for it? I could store more bools. This starts to seem absurd, but I suppose this is the way it goes with me. I mean, I'm going to make a lot of... because I just haven't really done this sort of thing before. Rather like the logic I was doing for the snapping tools, I start with a load of code and it does get whittled down to something a bit more elegant. So what I was saying was that I could store more flags in this bit of the decision making process. I could say start at the top equals true, and if it equals false, then I know that the end is at the top. And start at the left in this case, and start at the top equals true. End is at the top. That does then involve this another check somewhere around here, or at each stage in a way, or at different stages. But I suppose that's just the way it's going to be, because it is important. It'll determine whether or not those ends of the lines count as 2 jumps in depth value in the data buffer. I'm just tapping my keyboard and thinking that I can't really see a way around it, because this is, it seems, setting these things to these values I've already figured out, the top and the bottom, is the quickest way to figure out where this line's being drawn. I think it's just that once I've got to the end of this, or somewhere in here, that's really grim. It is really grim. Let me think for a moment. Can these be nested differently? I might just have to spell all this out and see what comes to me. What would it look like? It would look something like global top start and left start. Not that those values will have any meaning. This would be these would be reset initially. Top start equals false. Left start equals false. If cx is less than px, then left that stays. It's here where px is less than cx, and left is being set to px, px being the start of each segment. Left start equals true. Px being the start of each segment under these circumstances, top start equals true. Otherwise, top start remains false and left start remains false. This is starting to look really absurd. I'm going to just plough through, find a way to get the output and see what the speed's like. So, this remains true and it doesn't need fussing with. By the time I'm here, I've decided that the top's off screen. So it is like here is where I say first pixel equals true. No, it's I have to remember that when I say first pixel, I'm talking about the order I'm drawing the line in. Like, is it actually easier using my top start flag to enforce this it's like I could build this logic differently. I'm tempted to save this and try and I don't suppose I have to go that far. Like if I built this such that there was a bit of this, that this logic existed inside either of these, then I could, using my, just actually, even through the logic I could just, no I couldn't. I'm getting ahead of myself. I could say, oh well, I decide whether or not. Hang on, I am getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself too far. What I was going to say is, no. I'm going to stick with this, I think. The first pixel is true because this line is coming on screen. Coming from off screen, on screen. Here, no, I'm still wrong. No, I'm not maybe wrong. Here I have to decide whether or not the start of this line is the end of the segment. So, if top start else end, what is I'm really deciding here? Because if the top is the start, then the first pixel is true. What this is, under these circumstances, the top of this line is on screen. But if top start is false, if the top of this line is the end of the segment, then last pixel, no, then first pixel, because first pixel refers to the line, the SE line, not the PC line. That's how I've got to, that's how I've got to remember it. Good luck me. And I'll just make it explicit. First pixel equals true. Of course it equals true because this top top start equals true. If the top start is not true, then this top is the end of the line, in which case the first pixel must not be drawn. It must always be drawn here because the line is coming from off screen. Don't like that at all. In fact, it doesn't even work. It just doesn't work. Because down here, well, it sort of does. It's hideous, but it's sort of maybe, well, that's not what I want. Now I'm just doing something wrong. Am I? No, I'm not. No, this is right. Yeah, I'm filling up. I have to remember that this is distinct. This whole section is about the line being horizontal and vertical, and is distinct to it being at an angle, where I quite separately figure out through my num_i thing, my number of indexes, whether or not the line is drawn. Here I'm deciding that the line is drawn. It is definitely drawn because it's got an overlap and it's horizontal and vertical. I'm convincing myself of this. I can hear myself. So here I'm looking at the end of the line. If it's greater than this, then it equals this, and that's true. If it's less than it, then I need to know if top start is true again. But in this case, I don't need to do end if. In this case, if the top of the line is the start, I'm now dealing with the bottom of the line. That means that the bottom of the line is the end, which means last pixel equals false. If the top of the start, if top start is false, then the top of the line is the end, which means the bottom of the line is the start. The bottom of the line being E, and last pixel must be true. How totally hideous. Look, I'm just going to do a little peruse, because I'm not even finished with all that junk. Well, actually, come to think of it, it's not that far off. It's just an extra bit of junk. I was counting up the if statements last time as if that was a sensible thing to do. But now, in fact, yeah, I've got to do the same thing in horizontal. So here, I'm very cleverly saying very cleverly looking at what I did just now, about 10 seconds ago, to remind myself. Now I'm drawing the lines which are purely horizontal. Here I've said if the left is less than 0, then it must be starting at the left. Well, you know, I'm just going to start drawing the line on the left-hand side of the image at 0. And I'm going to say first pixel equals true. I'm kind of, thinking it through, because that means setting the start. And that's fine. Here I'm wanting to say if left start equals true, else end. So here's where the left-hand end of the line is on screen, and the left-hand end of the line is the start. So the first pixel equals true. Now I'm dealing with a situation where the left-hand end of the line is on screen, but the left-hand end of the line is the end. So first pixel equals false. Because even though it's the first pixel I'm going to draw the line, it represents the last pixel of the segment. I disgust myself with my logic, because it's so convoluted. And of course, we're drawing the line. And I have done this wrong, have I? Nope. Me. So, in this case, the right-hand end of the line has gone off the screen, and so it means that the last pixel has to be drawn. Doesn't matter if it's the last pixel of the segment. It's going off the screen, so it has to draw it. The right hand end of the line is on the screen. So now I need to know if left start is true. I want to make this explicit. I want to see it. Okay, let me just again think this through. So now the right hand end of the line is on the screen. The left hand end of the line, the right hand end of the line is on the screen. If the left hand end of the line is the start of the line, that means that the right hand end of the line is the end of the line, which means that the last pixel has to be false. If the left start is false, then the left hand end of the line is the end of the line, meaning the right hand end of the line is start. The right hand end of the line will be the last pixel to be drawn, but as it's the start, it has to be true. Boy oh boy. That handles, I think, the logic for the horizontal, vertical, and completely on-screen lines. And it's not that much more complicated here. This line is at an angle with at least one end off screen. Okay. Time to get thinking. I'm finding an intersection, so I sort of summarized this by saying draw flag is true. I am going to just get rid of this because I'm probably going to regret this, but we'll see. I don't think my logic is so far out that I have to go back to doing all those checks again. I don't even like this. I feel like there must be a quicker way to find out. Anyway, if I get to this stage, I'm checking all the sides of the screen. And I'm always, here I'm setting up the start, but by here, I don't know whether or not I'm setting up the start or the end of the line. And I have to do another check. But here, what I'm discovering is that there is an intersection of the left-hand side of the screen. And so I'm making the start of the line this. And if there's an intersection with the start of if there's an intersection, then the first pixel, because I'm setting the start of the line, must be true. Can't make any determination about the end of the line yet. Here, I don't know whether or not. If it is the start of the line, hang on, let me think. Here I'm saying there's an intersection at the right hand side of the screen, so I'm making, sort of entering an intersection in this list of either 0, 1 or 2. If I enter an intersection here and it's the end, going to be the end of the line, then there will be, then I am drawing the last pixel. If I enter an intersection here, and it is the start of the line, then I will be drawing the first pixel. Is it either way I will be drawing the first pixel? But actually, hang on a sec. I really want to, I'm trying to avoid having a big bit of logic in here where I'm saying, if I'm at 0 intersections I do one thing, and if I'm at 2 intersections, that's not realistic. And honestly, I've already spoken and thought and ruminated for 40 minutes about this, so I'm going to have to call it a day just now. I don't feel super confident about this. It's expanding to get the details. I mean, that is really, really expanding. As I sort of mentioned, my hope is to make this into a separate process, so that actually all of the bits and pieces that it uses are out of this code, and also it has other benefits for vastly improving renders. At the moment, that is the most idiotic part of a fairly sort of weird program, and it could be much improved if this was a separate process. Anyhow, next time.